Hello, everybody. Episode 30 of the Long Haul Podcast. I'm Nine, your usual host. Welcome, everybody. And this is my co-host, Kerry. How you doing, bro?
Hey man, what's up?
Not much. Was staying late up yesterday, hoping for the notes to come. But as last week, I went to bed and then the notes came out. Because I had to work. I had to get up at 6 a.m. this morning, so I couldn't stay up forever, man.
You letting your beard grow?
Well, it's hard to say what is laziness and what is letting a beard grow, but I guess it sounds better. It sounds better if I say that I'm letting my beard grow. Yeah. Oh man. Anyways, another week, another Valve post on Artifact 2.0. What are your first thoughts, man? How do you want to do this? How do you want to structure the episode? Do you wanna start somewhere specific?
I think starting from the beginning is always pretty standard. Kudos to the art. The new Debbie looks cool. This art.
I think it's killing the. I think it's a Keenfold Golem. You know the card where you discard your whole hand. I think she's standing on a Keenfold Golem, so much better, much more effort than last time where there was a ogre painted or whatever.
That is that's one beefy Debbie then.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if this is a card in from the new set, if you will. Could be that this is a card art. Anyway, pretty cool. It's just Debbie standing on a dead golem. And the post is entitled Mechanics. They start off by saying that forgive them for any bad grammar. Apparently they're having trouble doing remote work. Who would have guessed? I don't know, man. I wouldn't have guessed that it would be hard for IT to do remote work, but apparently it is. So yeah, here's to hoping that in the next few weeks the notes come out a bit earlier so that I can do this live.
You were already asleep when it came out.
So let's start off by the first paragraph. This post, by the way, is going to be really long because they touch on a lot of stuff here, but I think to save some time, let's just go through all of the points. So initiative rules haven't changed much, but the implications are different due to the round being shared across lanes. We already knew this. Players still take turns performing actions until both players pass in a row, and then you go to combat. So same as before. This sequence continues across rounds, so while you can't control initiative across lanes, you can still do so across rounds. There are more rounds per game, although each round is shorter, and get initiative spells still exist, although they have been renamed to quick. What are your thoughts?
So this pretty much shows us that when they say there's going to be more rounds, do they mean there's going to be more mana than the 10 cap? Have you ever thought about that when you read this? Because
I don't know.
Saying there's more rounds, you could have the amount of rounds that you wanted when you played Artifact 1.0. So what do they mean with more rounds, right?
I think probably it's implying that the game will move a bit slower, or potentially that they will cap the amount of actions that you have per turn. Some people have said that, but we will touch this on the next point, but now we know that the mana is also capped at a lower rate than it was before. So maybe if you're just able to perform less actions per turn, this means the game will potentially last longer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's like something, that's what comes to my mind first. Second, as we saw last week, the tower potentially in constructed is going to have 30 HP. So if the tower is going to have 30 HP and the creeps have been statted down to 1/1s, and the heroes are also 60% smaller, relatively speaking, the tower HP actually got buffed. So it could be a combination of heroes and creeps dealing less damage to the tower in comparison to 1.1, and additionally, since mana is now shared across all three lanes, you kind of are able to do less than you were before. So that might be what it's implying, but I don't think they're gonna cap and make a limit of rounds. That wouldn't make sense. I don't think.
Yeah. The way I read it, it gave me the idea that they're actually thinking about having more than 10 mana, because later on in the next paragraph they're going to start talking about mana, and they do give you the insight that if you want to blow a lane up, like so if you want to play Annihilation, for example, you're pretty much gonna, that's the card you're gonna play that turn most likely, and you're done with it. So that's why I was considering that having more rounds could be translated into the cap for mana being a bit more generous than the 10 mana, because you'd have 10 mana for each lane, and now you have 10 mana for all the lanes. So I don't know.
But I mean, but what do you mean? Because there was no cap on the mana. What I don't understand.
Didn't it stop at 10?
No, the mana would keep going. Mana would keep going forever, bro. There was
no. You wouldn't have like 20 mana.
Well, the game could go on forever. There was no limit on the amount of mana that you could reach. You could go on forever. I think someone actually went on with bots making
infinite mana.
Yeah. So in 1.0 there was no limit on basically nothing, like no limit on hand, no limit on mana, no limit on anything at all. So there would be no reason to cap mana in 2.0 unless they want to go the Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra route. But since mana now is kind of on a shorter, since mana is now shared across 3 pools, if they would cap, they wouldn't cap it at 10, they would cap it at 30, kind of, you know what I mean? But I don't think there's no evidence at all to believe that we could expect that to happen. Yeah, the chat is saying Slacks had this video where you would read. Yeah. So I think the main important point in this paragraph is actually initiative, because first of all they're renaming initiative to quick. Unclear why, because get initiative was pretty self-explanatory, but basically now there is no point in controlling initiative across lanes. So the point here will be you can still hold initiative for the next round so that you are the first to act on the next round. But obviously, because there's no sequence from lane to lane, there's less of an incentive to control initiative across lanes, if you will. What is not completely clear to me is if you play 2 spells in a row when you play initiative. I don't feel like this is clarifying that. So if I play a Chain Frost or a Hip Fire, can I still play an ability or whatever else afterwards? Because
it's what at least it looks like that.
Yeah, it's not really clear to me. I kind of wish they would have said it still works the same way. Because it says players still take turns performing actions until both players pass in a row, and it's kind of implied that it will be the same. But at the same time, it's not completely clear.
I mean, they say rules haven't changed much, so I'm expecting it to be exactly the same. The difference is instead of having like a card saying get initiative next turn, it just says quick. So yeah, well, yeah, in any case, all right, you can hold initiative the next round. That's something. But let's progress, because these points kind of all tie in together with what is going to come in the next paragraphs. So mana. There is now a single mana pool that starts at 3. We just said this, and increases by 1 per turn. Okay, some cards and abilities are cross lane, but in general, cards only affect the lane that they're being cast from, and you need a hero in lane to cast a card of their color, as previously. Mana costs have been reduced for low-end and mid-tier cards, but high-end cards remain expensive. If you want to blow up a lane, it might be the only thing you do in a round. I think this sentence is directed at Annihilation. Balance, yeah, 100%. Balance in the original game with these high impact spells was tricky. You had, I need to zoom out a bit. You had some decks that went from casting 0 big spells to a big spell in every lane.
All right, so yeah, we have this mana pool now that shares across the lanes, and instead of increasing from 3 mana to 12 mana, so 3 times 4, and then 3 times 5, as it was in 1.0, now you will increase from 3 to 4 to 5. To compensate this, they are reducing the costs of spells, at least low-end and mid-tier cards, but high-end cards remain expensive. So to me, this reads like pretty much a huge nerf to all expensive spells, because everything has been scaled down except those spells. And like just an overall nerf to the first turns, to the first rounds of the game, because even though things have been costed down, I cannot believe that they've been scaled down proportionally, because you used to have 12 mana on round 2, so you could play 3 4 mana cards, and I don't think you're going to be able to play 3 cards on 3 lanes with 4 mana now. So I don't know, what's your impression on this specific change?
It's, how do I put this? Playing less cards and thinking less on what to do is good and bad, because now you won't be able to control all lanes at the same time. Like, if I don't know, I was expecting more cards, but well, they do say that you're gonna start playing cards that cost 1 mana instead of 3 like we used to have, because that was the minimum. So you might actually be able to play 2 to 3 cards. We don't know which cards got really reduced or not, so I'm expecting all cards that cost 3 mana to cost like 1 now, for most of them.
Well, we saw, for example, Debbie's card, again, this is coming later in the post, got reduced from 3 to 2. So that's a 30% reduction, I guess. If you think that the mana got reduced by 60% from 12 to 4, yeah, man, I don't know. It's not proportional. So I'm concerned here, because we already learned last week that that there's the slots, and that the heroes are gonna slot, as they are, and so that's already limiting your options in the flop. Or it's gonna, what I'm hinting at here is what I said last week about the potential chess openings, where the layout of the game in the first rounds is gonna be, at least in constructed, it's gonna be potentially more predictable. If the setup initially is more predictable, and then you have less overall capacity to play spells, potentially your capability of adapting to this chess opening, if you will, might be reduced. This is all theory crafting. It could be completely wrong. We don't know until we play the game, okay? Disclaimer. But I'm afraid that this is basically making the first rounds of the game extremely predictable, and reducing the overall ability of players to adjust to the game in the first 2 or 3 rounds of the game. That's my main concern right now. I was actually very afraid that they would do this, and I'm really not happy that they have done this with a mana. But yeah, until I play, you cannot know, right? But at least from a design standpoint, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Yeah, my main thing here is, and we talked about this before, and them revealing this actually pushes it more favorably for aggro, and it's a bigger slap for control. Because if you play like, let's pick up the old card and say, let's say Annihilation again. You spend 6 to blow lane, or for example, you know people that played like Zeus card on the first turn, and second lane would play Zeus card again, or something like that.
Yeah, the later turns are completely nerfed. So, are nerfed to the ground.
Yeah, control. I feel like this is big slap on control. I don't know, man. It's like you said. It just looks like they're pushing it a little bit more to aggro and less for control right now.
Yeah. So we've had this discussion on our Discord, but basically my take from last week's notes is that the odds of your hero in the mid tower hitting face are 66%, so you're going to be hitting face more often in mid. And if you want, you're going to be always hitting face in your safe lane. So this is a very favorable towards hitting the tower. And then if we add on top that cards like Annihilation are severely nerfed right now, I mean, we haven't seen the card, okay? But if it remains the same as it was, why would I ever want to annihilate at 6 mana? I'm just going to get completely screwed because I annihilate a lane, and then the opponent has free reign to just jump back in, deal tower damage anyway. I feel like this is way too much of a nerf, but again, like maybe I'm being pessimistic and I don't want to overdo it. I want to be like cautiously pessimistic, but I'm concerned because it seems like the game design is favoring aggro too much and control is getting nerfed at the same time. So I'm not sure what's happening here, and then I'm afraid that they will try to overcompensate these design flaws. You know, I'm air quoting here. I'm afraid that they might overcompensate the control cards or the mid-range cards because the design of the game is favoring hitting face. So I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what to think of this, but
it is our duty to test the crap out of it.
Yeah, most definitely. Right now, and this is really something that I want to really underline is like we will only know when we play the game, and I want to remain optimistic, and I would like the community to remain optimistic because the whole point of beta testing is that you can give your input and potentially change things in a good way. And I realize that the vast majority of the community does not agree with what I'm saying. That's fine. You know, I have my podcast to say what I think. So yeah, we will see. We will see. This is my interpretation of the limited information that I have. But I'm a bit concerned. Yeah. And it's not even just because I'm a long hauler and I liked 1.1. Okay, I'm very capable of liking 1.1, 1.0, and also liking 2.0. You know.
You're still able to play. For example, let's just say you can still play a big removal card if you got like Aghanim Sanctum, right? So you're still able to clear something, but
the problem,
other than that, it's going to be hard.
And the problem is that a card like Aghanim Sanctum right now is way more busted than before. So it's very difficult to balance a card like Aghanim Sanctum. Like, what do they do here? Because before, regenerating the mana in one lane was regenerating 30% of your mana, right? Because if you were, and right now, Aghanim Sanctum, if it still exists in the same form, will regenerate 100% of your mana, so it's much harder to balance. Which means either it will be more expensive, or I don't know, man. Maybe they just scratch that off because I don't see how they can balance in this scenario. What they're describing here, I don't see how they can balance Aghanim Sanctum. It's going to be completely busted. So I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of I can speculate forever, man. I've been talking about this nonstop on Discord.
I can do this all day.
I can do this all day, indeed. All right, so let's have a look at the next paragraph. Initiative plus mana equal harmony. Each action costs at least 1 mana. So without things like a refresh from CM, you can no longer delay turns for free. You need to weigh the costs of waiting to respond versus saving enough mana for your high impact spells. And I'm going to stop here before I continue to say, you remember the sheepstick from, was it 2 weeks ago, right? The sheepstick.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that the sheepstick had a 1 cost at the top and we had no idea what it was. Yeah. So
I had a 1.
I'm presuming now that they say this, that sheepstick costs 1 to play.
Well, they say each action, because if you recall, every card that we saw last week, every card, even ability activations costed 1 mana. So I don't know if you want to play Tom Portal, if you need to spend 1 mana. Because that's like what you're saying. Everything costs 1 mana. Playing sheep, playing Town Portal, playing like a Blink Dagger, everything costs 1 mana. Activating your Blink Dagger costs another 1 mana from what we've been seeing. So, for example, if you want to play a Blink Dagger, and you're going to at least spend 2 mana.
Well,
So yeah,
at least this kind of nerfs aggro in a way, because if you make gold, say you're playing an aggro deck, you make some gold in the first rounds, and then you fill your hand with items.
that's also good. Yeah,
At least it kind of yeah, I guess it kind of puts a little bit of a break on aggro decks, so that they cannot
you
just
don't get to.
yeah, you don't get to make a lot of gold, hit the tower, and dump your items into play.
You don't get to buy the whole store and the next turn just equip your items and all heroes and go completely snowball.
Yeah, potentially. All right, so the combination of one shared mana pool and adding a mana cost for all actions has taken some of the weight from the initiative system in the original game. Sigh. The initiative system was something that experienced players, this sentence hurts. The initiative system was something that experienced players enjoyed immensely, but had a steep learning curve for new players and had some really negative side effects if it caught you off guard. Some players ignored initiative. Other players felt that controlling initiative was the main strategic concern. So we don't think this is a change that should be taken lightly. This disconnect may be responsible for the communication breakdown we see playing out in the community. Thoughts?
This fights against the. Maybe now, for the last months that you played the game, it didn't happen to you because it's like they say, there's a steep learning curve. But do you remember when you start playing the game where you want an initiative, so you just not play a single card for the whole lane? I think now you play the 3 lanes at the same time, so this doesn't actually happen as much. You're just fighting for initiative for the beginning of the turn, and if you're controlling all the lanes, I don't know if it's going to have that much of an impact. But still, I think they're trying to avoid people to just try to play for initiative as much and just watch your opponent play cards and not do anything because you really want that initiative. So I don't really know if it's gonna work exactly like they want, but at least that's what it looks they're trying to do.
I don't like this paragraph, man. There's something about this that I simply dislike. They say that some players ignored initiative, and other players felt that controlling initiative was the main strategic concern. This is a really unfair statement. If players ignored initiative, they were playing the game wrong. Okay, that 100%. If you were playing 1.1, oh goddammit, 1.0 and absolutely ignored initiative, you were doing this wrong. Top players, the thing is that what top players did was not controlling initiative as the main strategic concern. They were controlling initiative as the main strategic concern in specific key moments of the game. If you are playing a Lich in mono black, you want to hold initiative to play the Chain Frost. If you're playing mono red, you want to hold initiative to play Time of Triumph. If you're playing blue, you hold initiative for Annihilation. It's not that you hold initiative for the whole game. You define a strategy and you make tactics around that strategy to control initiative in the key moments when you need initiative. I think this is a really unfair. That Valve writes this like this, it blows my mind a little bit.
Can you imagine the amount of players that QQ'd about how initiative 6, I had the game in my hand and this guy played one card and wins the game? I don't know. Maybe they got so much spam mail about it that they actually felt that initiative was a problem. I don't know.
Sure, and
I never saw initiatives as a problem.
And I get that what we are doing here is really unfair because we are analyzing what they write sentence by sentence. You know what I mean? I would not like to have people analyzing what I write sentence by sentence. It's probably a little bit unfair, but this is all we have. This is all we've had for the past year. So, this is we want to do this. Like this, it feels good to analyze these things. And I think this is kind of unfair. It feels like a punch in the gut a little bit to me. If people who liked 1.0 are gonna complain about this, they're gonna complain. Like I personally feel like they are going a bit. They're going beyond the red line, you know what I mean? Like they could have changed the game without doing it so dramatically, you know? I really feel like they're just stepping over the line a little bit, dude. I feel that this is just too much. The slots, the mana, the initiative, everything's going away. The stats, the armor. Yeah, it just feels a bit overwhelming. I expected a lot of changes, but I feel like
This feels like a total revamp and not like changes to the core game. Is that what you're saying?
what I'm saying is, and this is the holy grail question, I think, is what makes Artifact 1 Artifact 1, you know? And the answer will vary from person to person, obviously, because everyone takes something different from the game. But I would have said the core things of the game, the core mechanics, the core aspects were the 3 lanes, the 5 heroes, and the way that those heroes fall into the game, the no limit, and the initiative. Just off the top of my head, these would be the 4 things and I don't even mention mana because it feels like mana was intrinsic to the lanes, and they are changing these things that I personally considered a pillar. So yeah, man, it's a little bit painful, but again, I don't want to be overly negative. We'll see when eventually I get to play the game. We'll see how it feels. But I really, really hope that some long haulers will be able to have access to the beta to provide feedback on this, because yeah, I don't. Do you think that decks are going to play initiative cards?
Some key cards, maybe not as much.
I mean, because decks right now are playing like 4 maybe 5 cards maximum of initiative. I don't think there's so much incentive to play 5 cards of initiative in your deck. What are you going to do? Go down to 2 or 1? At some point, it feels like it's useless if you're just playing 1 initiative card.
If you're playing Lich, you're already playing 3, right? So
yeah, if they haven't changed it.
If they don't change it. Do you feel like they sat at the table looking at each other and saying, if we do just like these 2 changes, it's not going to be enough. People still won't care. So we either need to revamp the game completely and try a new formula, or it's not going to work. Because the first week that they revealed the information about the changes, they subtly talked about some stuff is going to change completely. Some cards might been removed, and we already started going like, oof, we don't like what's coming out of that. And every week has been like, okay, so we changed this and this, we changed this, the stats, and now below we're gonna read a bit about how they changed armor. In my opinion, what they did to armor is pretty good, but right. we'll get there.
Yeah,
the lanes being changed, the way they changed, as in we don't want players to get locked out of playing the lanes, so you get to play all lanes at the same time. They had to do something for that, and the shared mana pool, and we didn't want them to limit our actions, but in a way, but having a shared mana pool is completely that, and it's telling you that you're not going to be able to play more than like 3 to 4 cards. So I remember when you play like mono blue, you get to have like 20 cards in your hand, and we didn't even get there. I'm just hoping that next week they don't say that you can only have like 10 cards in your hand, because that's going to be a slap in the face.
Well, I mean, if they are catering towards mobile, that probably is a concern, indeed.
Yeah, that might happen. I just feel that they're trying to limit us, and other games do that, and this is what made Artifact. A lot of these things are being cut down. And last week you said like, well, I've invested so much time in this. What if I don't like 2.0? What if all this 1 year waiting was just for nothing? Let's say it like that. I wasn't as concerned last week, but this week is just so many revamp stuff that it's actually starting to scare me the same way that it's scaring you.
Yeah, I guess in any case it's a bit overwhelming, right? It's so many stuff at the same time that it becomes really. I wonder if it becomes counterproductive to theorycraft, because it's just so much that I don't think our brains can really process it. We can analyze things separately, but then it's almost impossible to imagine these things coming together.
This might be like separation anxiety, right? We might actually play the beta if we get into beta and enjoy it and say, hey, it's actually it's a completely different game, but
For sure.
it's still fun and challenging. So
I mean, for sure, and I would be happy if that would be the case. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was obvious that the game was going to change. I just hope that I still like it. But the more it changes, the more I feel like I might not like it. That's why I get this kind of strange feeling. But oh well. So they say, we think that the current system gets to a similar place where the actions you take and the order you take them are both very important without the big downsides of the learning cliff and the resulting struggles with lockout. Again, yeah. This sentence, without going into this too much, there's a learning cliff, but what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make the curve less steep? Or are you trying to make the peak lower? You know what I mean? Because I'm not sure if they are making the learning curve less steep, aka easier, or if they are just making the peak of the curve lower. Because if they are just removing strategic depth from the game, that's quite different from making the cliff or the curve have a lower angle, but whatever. New defaults. We've been trying to move away the very technically worded cards from the past. They were always very accurate, but sometimes it felt like you needed to be a programmer to work out what was actually going to happen. Cards and abilities will affect the lane unless stated otherwise. Any verb, stun, disarm, etc. lasts until the end of the round unless another duration is set. All cards with persistent effects are labeled as enchantments, and last until dispelled. All permanent modifications are labeled as such. Arrows point forward by default. Okay, slow clap to Reddit. Congratulations. Arrows pointed forward by default, but can be modified temporarily at the end of the turn, or if you move the unit, its arrows reset. So if you move the unit or do anything, the arrows will point forward. I think we could have deduced this from the 5-slot thingy from last week, so not a big surprise that there. Again, I'll express the same concerns I expressed last week, where the creeps are just going to be punching each other and the heroes are mostly going to just be hitting the tower. So I kind of feel like this is going to lead to more chump blocking, etc. But that's beyond the point. Do you want to say something, or shall I just progress? Because I don't feel like changing.
I'm just gonna hit the same mark that I talked about last time. Because after this, I just feel like we're gonna see a lot of cards that change arrows. We had cards that literally just changed the arrow, right? It just said either give taunt to this or choose a new target. I feel like if they want to go this route, they should have cards that do more than just changing the arrow, like getting some sauce on it. Give plus something, or give it armor and change the arrow, or do damage to something and change it. Because if we're gonna play a static game, the game's gonna get dull really, really fast.
Sure.
So I just think if they want to go this route, I'm expecting cards that do more than just choosing your target or go for the tower.
Yeah, fair enough.
Slap, go face. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Something that changes the game from being static.
Yeah. And relating to the ability names or whatever, I don't really care what they call the mechanics. I just care about what they do.
Do you actually feel like you needed to be a programmer to understand
No,
technically
but
for the cards. I just think this sentence is just. I know what they're trying to say here. They're trying not to call people stupid.
I'm
Because let's face it, if you couldn't read a goddamn stupid card, I don't know what you're doing. This is not the game for you, clearly. Not this one, nor Magic, nor Runeterra, nor Hearthstone. Because if it says like give this plus this and go face, then I don't know. There's not a single game that I actually played that made me go like, oh, I don't understand what they're meaning. I must get a dictionary, or I should Google what quickening means or something.
Yeah, for sure. I'm biased because I've played Magic for too long that I know how to. I'm used to read. I've played too many card games to really know what a new player feels like when they read that. Like, I don't really care as long as it's obvious what the card does. Doesn't really matter. So, following on that, there's some keyword changes. Armor, probably the biggest one, but let's see. Armor in the old game caused some issues. Early in development, we ended up doubling all stat values to compensate for how dramatic the impact of a single point of armor was. So this is really interesting. The reason why they're scaling down is probably because they changed armor. Potentially, who knows. It also added a lot of math when you had multiple damage sources. That is true. It was not always easy to calculate. Yeah, that is true. I mean, even high tier players would duel heroes expecting them to die, and then they wouldn't. But yeah, now each point of armor can block 1 point of damage and is refreshed at the beginning of the round. So I don't really care too much about this change. I realize it makes the math and the gameplay more intuitive.
I actually feel this one is good. I actually liked it. Once you get rid of the armor this turn, it's done. I actually like this.
The one thing is that it becomes basically very similar like to regen or to just having another point of HP.
Yeah, but when you have to play like 3 cards to just get rid of like 3 armor or 4 armor just to get your armor was just too good. It would make you trade so much resources just to get rid of the armor, to go through armor, just to have the mob spawn again and your hero spawn again 2 turns later with the same issue. So I just feel that if you play 1 card, you get rid of that armor, and then combat happens, or you actually try to kill the hero and it's done with a mob.
Yeah.
So I like this change.
This doesn't bother me. It's like I said, it just becomes kind of very similar to the other mechanics, but it really doesn't bother me. I feel like this is not it's not in the big scope of things. It's not going to be a very relevant change, I don't think. But down there, when we progress a little bit further, there's something I want to say about armor though. So cleave and siege, there used to be these used to be dependent on the unit blocking to function. Now they are active all of the time. Okay, so if you hit a tower, siege still procs. If you hit a tower, cleave still procs. So siege and cleave are much better. This is a huge buff to these abilities. Yeah, did you wanna say something? Or?
No, it's good. I also like this one.
Yeah, and here we get a new keyword, feeble. Feeble is new to the game, but we wanted to talk about it anyway, so we could show off one of the basic hero reworks. Each unit attacking a feeble unit will deal excess damage to the tower instead. For example, if Debbie, the new version of Debbie is a 4/3. If Debbie is blocked by a 1/3 unit and uses no accident, leaving it with 1 remaining health, because no accident now costs 2 and deals 2 damage, and gives a unit feeble. So if it leaves the creep with 1 remaining health, 3 damage will be dealt to the tower and her passive ability will trigger. Debbie's ability passive or reactive ability is, after combat, if Debbie the Cunning dealt damage to the tower, give the tower -1 armor and give Debbie +1 armor permanently. So before we talk about how good feeble is, I want to say no black hero before had the ability to gain armor or remove armor. This was, I believe, strictly a red mechanic. Debbie now looks like an Ursa, basically, that drains armor. So
To the tower only.
To the tower, and her card gives feeble, which means that it's hitting the tower much harder and much more often. So this is a really huge buff to Debbie, it feels like to me.
So before you played a no accident to clear creeps, right? Now you're going to use it as a trying to do this in front of Debbie most of the time.
Yeah, but notice that the previous no accident could not kill a creep because it was 3 mana for 3 damage and the creeps had 4 HP. And her card now kills creeps. So this is a huge buff to indirect huge buff to Debbie. Plus she gains a reactive ability.
Also, she's now uncommon if you look at the symbol, right?
I don't know, man. But whatever, there's not going to be presumably rarity, right? Unless they keep it for draft, which we don't know. So maybe, but they describe her as a basic hero, so I don't know. Because they say basic hero reworks, right? So the rarity
I'm just saying this because the cards that we saw last time all had like uncommons, and now this is the first common that they're showing.
Yeah, I guess. All right, so that's a cool little new mechanic. I guess this will allow Debbie to maybe finish games or whatever colors have feeble. It seems to be a black mechanic for now.
Doesn't it feel a bit like trample?
Yeah, it's basically trample, except it's not the attacking unit that has trample like in Magic. It's the defending unit that has feeble. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a reverse trample, if you will.
You're giving the whatever that target is blocking. You're giving that target's blocker and a trample in a reverse way.
Kind of, yeah. And then the other question that this raises is, what does negative armor to the tower do? So basically, it's
gonna take 1 more damage from each source.
Not from each source, right? Because our armor changed. So if we apply the same logic that you apply to armor in the heroes, where it only prevents the first time, then probably you apply the same logic to the tower, where the first time that the tower takes damage, it takes 1 more damage. Right? That's how I would interpret it. But
it would be broken if all creeps and all targets would do an extra damage.
It would be absolutely very strong. Yeah, not to say broken. Yeah. So cool little mechanic. Good for Debbie, one of my favorite heroes from 1.0. So good to see her making a good comeback.
Although, kind of, I don't know. It might actually be taking 1 damage, because if you look at it in a way, the max damage it would take is 5 per turn, and there's jump blockers and other blockers, so there's ways to mitigate the damage that the tower will take. So I don't know if negative armor will work exactly like the positive armor, like they said up there. I'm curious now.
Don't you think it would be confusing? I mean, they are trying to make everything easier to understand, and then if they would make the minus armor work differently, it would be kind of paradoxical. Like it would not be making a lot of sense, I guess. I mean, it looks like they are trying to make everything super homogeneous and uniform and easy to understand. So we don't know.
In that line, yeah. In that line of thought, it makes sense.
Yeah. All right. I guess we're halfway through. Card unlocks. All players will unlock cards playing in any mode. The pace should be such that players are excited by getting fun cards to play with, but aren't overwhelmed when they see too many new cards being played by an opponent. Alright, that seems legit. Players that are new to the game enjoy casual play, like to learn by doing instead of reading, or just enjoy a sense of progression, would start in general matchmaking. They can grow their card pools while matching against opponents with a similar number of card unlocks. So matchmaking is going to have a setting where it matches you with people with the same amount of card unlocks. All right.
Let me just say something that is just so stupid. I mean, matchmaking people not by skill, because you get like 10 cards and the other guy has 10 cards. I win 5 games, I get 10 cards. You lose like 15 games and you get those 5 cards.
Well,
we're gonna get paired together. So that matchmaking system just feels like stupid.
Yeah, but so later on, we'll get there. So they say basically that this gives a controlled environment to learn in. Hero Draft, the thing that they mentioned before, even pulls from the combined set of cards that you and your opponent have unlocked to keep things extra fair. So Beginner Draft will pull from the cards that you and your opponent have. Eventually, these players can switch to ranked mode and automated tournaments if they want to experience a more competitive environment. So I guess if you don't like matching against people with the same card unlocks as you, you can just go to ranked and get your face smashed in, or play tournaments.
Or when the game comes out, you just play ranked instead of playing pussy mode, and then you unlock cards at the same speed as other people. I don't know. I mean, 80% of the time that I played, it was draft, and when you start doing this, it just starts to get on my.
I don't care. Honestly, I don't care about this. The more options,
I just feel the matchmaking system is stupid. This matchmaking system makes no sense to me.
As long as everyone can play what they want, that's fine. I don't really care. Let me play what I want. Let other people play what they want. Whatever. As long as everyone's happy. So there will also be the option to jump right into scrimmages and custom tournaments. Thank God. These will let players set rules or allow any card sets they see fit. Awesome. All players will probably enjoy these from time to time, but advanced players can start playing these immediately. Yes! Can start preparing for that $2 million tournament, guys. Kappa.
Because it's stacked, right? It's stacked because it was last year, then 1 year passed, and
exactly.
Now it's $2 million.
Exactly.
Okay.
Your feedback. After our call for suggestions about how to improve the game, we were overwhelmed by the responses, both in quantity, it took us a week to catch up on reading them all, and they're still coming, and also the quality. The community took the task seriously and wrote in with a wide range of suggestions, from gameplay changes and features through to feedback on localization and possible founder benefits. We aren't able to respond individually to every submission, but we were able to compile a list of promising ideas from the community and get a sense of where people most wanted the team to spend their attention. Luckily, that lined up well with the team's internal plans. Here's a taste of some of the things people asked for and our current plans. So this is the mailbag, basically.
So you read this, the whole paragraph, okay? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines of text. And I bet you that 90% of the people just read possible founder benefits. That's all they read. That's 9 lines of information, and all they read was possible founder benefits.
Give impact is what people read there. All right, so progression. The most popular requests outside of gameplay changes was for more robust progression systems. People wanted to feel like their time spent with the game was being rewarded, and also wanted a better measure of their competitive strengths so they could see themselves improving. We would like people to be able to feel a sense of progression in the game through unlocking cards and other collectibles in the normal course of play without being forced to spend mana, but we're still experimenting with different reward structures. Alright, so there will be a reward structure, we don't know what. Whatever. For competitive...
Season pass.
Yeah, basically. For competitive play, we are working on a design similar to the Underlord's ranked system, Season Pass, which we hope will provide people with goals to aim for, a clear path to get there, and a meaningful way to measure yourself against other players. We're also thinking through ways we might be able to connect these systems with artifacts' robust tournament support. That's what I want. I want connection with the tournament support, because one of the things that pissed people off the most in 1.0 was people who only played tournaments. They never leveled up. The tournament system didn't count towards leveling up, towards rank, etc. And understandably so, because it's very exploitable to create tournaments and make yourself win the tournaments with your friends or whatever, just to level up. So it is understandable that they would want to create some sort of mechanism to block people from exploiting the tournaments. But on the other hand, this shit 100% has to be connected with the rank system. Come on, Valve, find a way. Like, there's tons of ways to do this, but yeah, definitely has to be done through Steam Guard, through whatever might be the case. But the tournaments definitely have to be something that is related with ranked, and also through the whatever battle pass objectives will be. I think this is a no-brainer. How to do that though, I don't know, but do it.
I don't know how. Make it happen.
That's not my job. Make it happen, exactly. Quality of life features. Tracking your competitive rank is just one aspect of giving people the tools to improve at the game.
Are you talking? Because no sound
Hello?
is coming out of your mic.
Hello? Hello? I think my internet is breaking. Can you hear me? Is Zoom dying? Oh god. It looks like my OBS is still working, so let's just give Carrie a sec. I think it looks like Zoom is not working properly. You there, man? I can see your face.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like the Zoom server is a bit overwhelmed at the moment, but OBS is working and so on, so the stream's going. All right, so backtrack a second. Quality of life features. Tracking your competitive rank is just one aspect of giving people the tools to improve at the game. We're also flashing out player profiles, awesome, letting people track statistics about the games they've played, thank God. Please give me Artifact Plus, I will pay whatever you want. View match histories and watch replays. Additionally, we're looking at frequently requested quality of life and social features, such as chat history, the ability to spectate friends, access to more game modes when challenging friends, and saving templates for tournament settings. I mean, this is music to my ears. This is awesome. Quality of life, yeah. I mean, there's no downside to quality of life. The more we get it, the better.
Well, only 1 year late.
Exactly. That's the only complaint. Also in this odds and ends category is feedback that we got from many non-English speaking communities, sometimes read via machine translation, that they would like to see a different approach to localizing hero names, preferring a transliteration of the English name rather than literal translations of their names. This is probably for like Portuguese, Russian speaking, Spanish speaking people, where I think the names of the heroes were really screwed up. But I don't know, because my Steam's in English, so everything was just in English for me.
Yeah.
We'll be talking to our localization team about this. Again, quality of life, go for it. Thank God they were reading our emails. You can see that they, if nothing else, they considered what we wrote them. So that's really good to hear, and hopefully that keeps happening from here on out. And then the last point, last but not least, not even close to least, single player. A lot of you recognize the potential for telling stories about the Dota world through artifacts and loved what we'd already done through comics and flavor text. Yeah, absolutely. And the voices, the voice lines, the flavor of the cards, the comics, everything was amazing. We are doubling down on that effort through a single-player campaign, which will both teach new players the game and continue the story that began with a call to arms. Tying into our progression systems, we want people to feel rewarded no matter which way they choose to play the game, whether it be in competitive play or the campaign. Looking forward to your thoughts. All right.
This does nothing for me.
It does nothing for you. I like it, dude.
You like single player campaigns on a card game?
How do I put this? I like the lore. I definitely like the lore. And even if I don't play the single player campaign, which I probably will, it won't be the first thing I do, but I think at some point it's one of those things that you just do. But if nothing else, I like to follow the story, know the back history of each character and so on. So I kind of like this. And I really like that they are tying the progression system to this as well, because if someone feels stressed about playing competitive, or if someone just wants to play with friends, or if someone just wants to play single player, I don't see why those people should not be rewarded or get their own progression. I think it's completely fair that they also do get that, and the more the merrier. Like, who cares? That's the whole thing about free to play games, right? Let people progress and get their hats, and they'll be happy.
Are you sure it's going to be free to play?
No, but I imagine it will.
Exactly.
I imagine it will. So, yeah, I mean, I think the note ends. I feel like this post starts on a very, to me personally, on a very negative note and ends on a very positive note. It's a lot to take in. It's really hard to process everything together. People on Discord, people on Reddit, people everywhere seem to feel rather strongly about most of these things. And yeah, I really start to notice that people are like taking sides, but like hardcore taking sides. And I feel like,
Really?
Honestly, I mean, I'm one of them, but I really feel like honestly that the community is not really, this is not benefiting the community, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, we all have our perspectives, we all feel strongly because we really like the game, but I mean, I would like to see the community kind of be able to discuss all these things without kind of offending each other, or looking at it in a black and white perspective, and you're wrong, I'm right perspective, and rather just try to put yourself in other people's shoes, and let's try to do what's best for the game here. You know, a lot of long haulers are feeling like they've killed the game for them. I'm not quite yet there yet. I definitely want to try the game, and I want to give feedback, and if I can change the game to something that I like more, great. But yeah, I just wanted to ask the community to try and be a bit nicer to each other, because we're all following the game because we like the game, and we want to see it arrive somewhere that is enjoyable for everyone.
So what you're saying is, like, the 50,000 people that were on the Artifact subreddit that disappeared during the long haul, that kept bashing the game, are now coming back and praising the lords that Valve listened to what they ask. The straight arrows, the less cards, the screw initiative, and all that thing. And they're taking the side of the new gen is the coolest gen. Is that it?
I don't know what I'm saying, man. I really don't know what I'm saying. I get the feeling that Valve were very frustrated about 1.0. I get the feeling that not all of them agreed with what was done with 1.0. Blame it on whoever you want. I really get the vibe that they are trying to make the game maybe overly accessible. Like, you know, there's a reason why people also like games like Dota and Dark Souls and whatever, and it's not that it's accessible, it's that it presents a challenge. People also don't underestimate the fact that people also like challenges. You know, the game has to be approachable, but it doesn't mean it has to be easy or dumbed down. The game can be accessible and easy to learn and still be difficult to master, right? And I think that's a difficult balance to strike. It's a really difficult to get there. And right now I just feel slightly like the game is going slightly too much towards the side of being too accessible. But I'm optimistic and hopeful that we can, in my perspective, improve that with the beta and with our emails and within our discussions in the Reddit and Discord communities.
I hope you're right. I mean, we're not seeing the bigger picture still. We've just been given like a little bit of a glimpse of
Sure.
what's to come.
Yep.
And most of the things that we think about when we see the differences that they show us is we just think about the old cards. So we don't know how the new cards will act, if some, if not a lot of the cards that used to be around are going to disappear. We don't know if it's going to be an Artifact 2.0 or an Artifact just a single game. They might have Artifact 1.0 as a mode, which I'm not sure that would probably work because of the system that they're trying to put with playing the 3 lanes at the same time. So we're just being fed little glimpses of what's to come, and we're theorizing in a positive or negative way, which always happens with any game or anything that we only get fed a little bit of information. So it's like you said, the second part of this post is pretty good in a very gratifying way for the quality of life, the changes to armor, which in my opinion are good, the changes to cleave, which are also good, which will make some mechanics that were underrated pretty decent now. So it kind of hurts to say this, but I think we just need to accept it. We're just looking at stuff right now and going, this sucks. But they had like a full year to test and think about it. So I don't want to say I trust the team in a sense that I'll blindly trust what they're doing, but I like to think that all this time that they've been in silence and testing and thinking about it and doing their steering meetings and stuff like that. Just trusting Valve very exactly.
I want to be really careful about not being misinterpreted, because I think Valve are getting where they want. I don't think it's not that Valve is doing a bad job. Valve for sure is doing a good job. I just question where they want to go. Like that's the thing is, I'm sure that they are doing exactly what they want to do to get exactly where they want to go. It's just that maybe they are not going exactly where I want them to go, So I want to help share my opinion and the opinions of other players that think like me to maybe adjust the path that they're going down to be slightly closer to where I want the game to end up. I'm sure that Valve is doing an amazing job. It's really the question of perspective and product that they are hoping to achieve, and whether that product corresponds to my personal expectations and the community's expectations. That's all. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think we're hitting about an hour. Do you want to comment on anything else, or is it enough shit talk for today? Or
I'm good. I just hope that next Moonday is more positives and less negatives. I think this one was very well balanced.
Yeah, they did it
on the bad side.
They definitely did a good job in that ratio of taking with one hand and giving with the other, I guess, in my view, because I know that a lot of people are very happy with this post and very optimistic, or more optimistic than me. But let's see. That's the whole point of being in the community, is sharing our opinions and so on. So
I think at this point I'm not. I wouldn't say disappointed, because that's a very strong word, and I haven't played the game yet to be able to say if I'm disappointed or not. But I do feel that I'm more curious on the big picture here to see if they actually dumbed it down to really, really dumbed it down, or they just simplified some wordings and mechanics. The arrow thing, and the five cards per lane, or 5 creatures per lane, just that's for me, that's already too much. I think they overkilled it a bit. I just hope, let's say this was it, and there's not like another batch of super changes that are going to show us next week.
We'll see. There's still a lot of stuff to know. We spoke about some of them. Potential limits on mana, potential limits on cards. hand size. There's still a bunch of stuff that we don't know. But yeah, at the end, every episode is going to end the same, man. Until we play and we experience the confluence of all these changes, we're never going to know. So I guess let's leave it at that. Guys, if you disagree with us, if you agree with us, let us know what you think.
What JC Orion is saying is one of the things that I actually please don't go below the 3 cards that you let us draw, because I mean, doing that would be, I don't see a reason for it, because you still have 3 lanes. And you draw a card, you would draw 3 cards because it was 3 lanes. It would give you the option to play a card per lane. So I don't think they should. Okay, if they would do that, that would be going full retarded. Okay, that's where I would draw the line. Like, okay, if you're only going to draw 1 card per turn and you're going to play 3 lanes, that for me, that's just overkilling completely.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on that, because they're anyway reducing mana, so I don't know how many spells you're going to be able to play. So don't really know, not sure I care yet. We'll see what they do next week. But yeah, I think that's us for this week. Guys, let us know what you think, if you like, if you dislike. Join our Discord, you can discuss with us live down there. Yeah, and otherwise, thanks for joining us, thanks for watching, and keep long hauling, dudes. See you, man.
Yeah, see you guys next week.